Hello and welcome to Doing Life Together, episode 76. It's Sonia, your host. And today I get to talk about one of the topics that I'm super passionate about. And the reason I'm so passionate is I remember like it's yesterday being a mom to little kids. And being a mom was really a fulfillment of a dream for me. And like so many of us, before we got pregnant, I thought, will we be able to have children? And I just want to say that I recognize that today's chat may be just slightly activating or triggering for those of you who are walking in an infertility journey right now. And that's a whole nother Doing Life Together, right? I have had the great privilege of walking with friends through that journey, and I'm excited to say that many of them have a family now, whether it was through IVF or adoption. And also as a childbirth educator, many of the couples who would seek me out as a natural childbirth educator were those who had been through the journey of infertility and were expecting their first or second babies. And the reason being is I think that they just, when you've gone through that journey, you're probably, I would imagine, more than ever committed to just creating the very best life possible for your little ones. So with that said, I feel called, and I have felt called for decades, to really mentor moms of littles. And the reason being is I remember, it's hard to believe Jake is now 22 years old. I've been in this journey for over 2 decades. And as you know, my background is in physical therapy, which is in the medical community. And honestly, when we found out we were expecting, we didn't know boy or girl. We didn't find out till he was born. But I knew one thing, that this little being in my tummy, like my uterus, must be more official here, was just like became my everything overnight. It really shifted me. And also all I knew kind of was just the standard way of doing things. And so I am passionately grateful for the mentors who God brought into my life in such many different ways. Like it would maybe just be someone I just met for a short period, but they had that little seed that needed to be planted for me to be able to go on that journey. So because those mentors mean so much to me, I feel called to help mamas of littles as well on their journey. And so today I just want to talk about some things that I think are a reality when you are, I want to say young moms, but obviously it doesn't matter how young or old the mom is. It's moms of littles. So it's just that stage of life where you are raising little ones who are often at that stage where they're 100% dependent on you. You know, I am a high touch girl. I think that physical touch is one of my many love languages. I joke with Willie that I'm super easy to love, or I'm super high maintenance, one of the two, because I think I check like 4 of the 5 love languages. But physical touch, I'm a hugger. I love that. And I remember being a new mom and my goal, like to do the best I can for this little baby that I was blessed to have, to be his mom, that by the end of the day of breastfeeding, of wearing the baby, I eventually, after about 6 months of trying to, get him to sleep in his own bed, I actually began researching co-sleeping, which then became my go-to as a mom as we raised 4 boys. So it was like so much pouring out in that mama-ness that even in that time, I was a little tapped out, even with something that I typically love, which is connection of physical touch, right? So this is normal. And I also remember literally thinking it was a huge success if I was able to shower that day, especially with the first baby. By the time third and fourth came along, we kind of had a little bit more, okay, this is how it goes. And definitely you grow, you learn. And I always tell Jake, our oldest, I just say, hey, thanks for being our practice baby. Like, we literally did the best we could do, but y'all didn't come out with a manual. And so thank you. Thank you for grace, because I know that I'm grateful for doing a lot of things the way I would still do them today. So the ways that I look back and go, yeah, that I feel good about those decisions. But there were some decisions that if I could redo them today, they would look different. And giving ourselves grace as parents is super important. But so one of the things that I'm so grateful for is the mentors who planted just a little seed to look beyond the standard check boxes that we were given back then as parents. You know, when you're pregnant, you take a prenatal vitamin. And then when you go into delivery, you can try to go natural, but bottom line is get the epidural before you can't. Just so many things that were just standard back then. Now, I'm really grateful in 2 decades. I see the world shifting in some really great ways. Oh my goodness. Like, I was thinking about how expensive it was back then for me to try to parent the way I wanted to, because I was learning about plastics back then. And I didn't want my kids to have the standard. We didn't really use bottles because I breastfed. Because I was home with them, I had that privilege of doing that. So we still used them when I would go out or whatever, but mostly it was like those sippy cups, and everything cost so much. Of course, back then I had dropped my full-time income as a physical therapist. And so we were living on Willie's full-time income. And so things were a little tighter anyway, but everything was so expensive. And I'm grateful now that everything is so much more available. And there's so much more knowledge, because we used to really have to dig deep to find it. So I say that, and I think it's really cool, but I also have to say this. When we were expecting, I began researching. This is really probably the start of me having a passion for research. I'm not actually, that's not something I've typically found myself like, oh, yes. But I do realize that there's this thing in my being where God has put me in a place where I've mentored a lot of other people on my journey in various ways. And I think that as that mentor, I more than anything want to double check myself and make sure that if I am going to help someone on their journey, that I'm accurate. So I was actually reading CDC studies on various things and deep diving a lot of things that impacted the choices that we ultimately made for our children. And then there came this point during COVID where I went to look something up, and I hadn't looked it up for a lot of years, because it's kind of like one of those things that you research it and you're like, okay, I have what I need to make my decision as a parent. And I went back to look it up, and this particular thing was a little against the narrative, against the norm, whatever, and to Google it, and it was nowhere to be found. Like, nowhere. And I was like, oh my goodness, Willie, I cannot believe I can't even search this. Like, it literally won't come. And I knew what I wanted to search because I had been there before. So at the same time that I say things are more accessible now, the other huge shift right now is social media and podcasts. And it's beautiful. Like, there's a lot of good stuff out there. But as moms of littles, we don't necessarily always have time to sit and listen to endless podcasts, although sometimes when we're breastfeeding at 2 a.m., maybe. But we need, and also there's something called decision fatigue, and it shows up in all areas of life. And it's just like when you're constantly having to make little decisions. And that's what parenthood, especially as a new first-time parent, it's just like this constant, you're having to make decisions. And it can be deeply draining and overwhelming. And we call it decision fatigue. And who do you trust? Like, how do you know? And if you can't easily search things online, and now I am grateful that that censorship seems to have shifted a little bit. It was very eye-opening to me to realize what it looks like. To actually see censorship in action and say why I am so grateful to be in America, and I really treasure the freedoms we have. Yeah, because I saw for us, I caught a glimpse of what it looks like when they're not there, and I didn't like the glimpse. And I'm grateful for the shifts that seem to be happening. But I also, during that time, watched some brave voices out there that were literally getting removed off platforms. And the problem with that is a lot of people can't even say the things that they might love to share because of the risk of being removed, deplatformed. So anyway, intriguing time to find information. On one side of the scale, we have endless information. Then you've got ChatGPT. I know some of us think we've got a new best friend, right? However, what is programming chat, right? And what will it look like in the future? Like right now, we're in that phase where we're building trust with it. Okay, building trust. But we always, I just always say, like, follow the money. So what does this look like long-term as we begin to trust something like AI? It hopefully will be really, really amazing. Like, I think AI has brought incredible things into our world, obviously. And it's amazing, but also you don't know when you get AI if it's true or not. So my friend had asked AI about a couple different credit cards and whatever. AI gave her certain information. She moved on the information. Turned out it was completely wrong, completely not right. And so we do have to be careful with that as well. All right. So to you moms of littles, if you're feeling overwhelmed, another thing that I think is so real is guilt with moms, like especially when we're like, oh my word, like I love being a mother. Why am I feeling like, oh, I just need a break, and that like conflict of this is my dream to raise children and raise them right and whatnot. And yet I feel like I'm tapped out. I have lost my own, oh, sorry. I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb, but anyway, that's okay. So when we lose our own space, we don't feel like we have something of our own, whatever. And then we have guilt. Or if we go and for me, before I started with Norwex, Norwex was a huge shift for me, actually, at many levels. But before that, when I would get invited to girls' nights out, I would think, oh, that's super fun. And I wanted to go, but I knew that, hey, this is like putting more stress on my husband and our finances and whatever. So again, there comes that mom guilt that, okay, I want to be home with these babies and I want money, both, which is another thing that comes up. So I have a lot of my coaching clients and people I've mentored over the years. Some of them they work full-time. They love their work. That works really well for them as a mother. And others are stay at home. And then of course, I have a huge team that I mentor that work from home. And so the working moms, if that's the choice that is right for them, often have guilt, and maybe you don't. Maybe I'm not speaking your language at all. Obviously, we're all very unique in our own ways. But sometimes there's guilt associated with like when you have to drop the baby off at childcare or whatever. And then you've got the at-home moms. And the thing I've seen with that is guilt that they're not able to contribute as much financially. And then there can run into guilt whenever they need to or want to, heaven forbid, want to spend money. Then there's guilt because they're not necessarily able to contribute financially the way they would if they were working full time. So anyway, there's all these decisions to make, and it's not a right or wrong situation. But if you are in that place, here's some things that I did learn as mom to littles and now adult children. Next thing you know, I'm going to be an empty nester. Like, baby Sam is going to be a freshman in high school next year. Benji's going to graduate next year. Like, it's crazy how fast it goes. Crazy. And I wouldn't change. I mean, I just wouldn't give any of it up. Like I said, it's been an amazing journey. I actually love this season. Watching them move into adulthood, it has been just a beautiful, beautiful thing for me. And I knew God showed me a vision actually when they were very little. When I say vision, I don't mean like, I know that word means different things to different people, but in my head, I saw myself standing in this kitchen, and around me were all these taller than me young men and Lily. And we were in the kitchen, and I looked out the window, and we had like land out there. That was before we had land. That was long before I had adult children. But you know what I love is when God prepares your heart for something, so that when you get there, you're like, oh, I was made for this. And so at that moment when they were so little, I knew that I wasn't raising babies, I was raising young men. And I'm really grateful for that. It's just when God like shows me things like that and allows that to happen, I'm always so grateful, because it has really super, 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 super much prepared me to then embrace a future season. So if you don't see like that, just ask him, show me what that looks like. What does this future look like? And he always loves for you just to talk with him and ask him. I ask him all the time. I don't think God is ever offended when we ask him for more of him, no matter what. Like, that is just, show me more, Lord, more of you, more of how I get to walk in your promises, in your blessings, how I get to walk in my true identity in Christ Jesus, which is huge as well. Another thing with moms, though, that I remember is when I had these littles, like, that was my dream. But seriously, breastfeeding, changing diapers, hauling around, I baby wore too, so I had these slings, like, they were often somewhat attached to me, in those young years. And suddenly I felt a little isolated. And like I didn't have the adulting. Like, I needed more adulting. So then I did find some natural mama groups, and those were such a lifeline. And some of you were in my natural mama groups. That's how I know you. And then to find other crazy mamas, other granola mamas who thought as, quote, crazy as I did, and was, not feeding the standard canned baby food, and just making different choices, eventually had 2 babies at home. And again, I became a certified breastfeeding advocate and taught natural childbirth. These were all things that went very cross-culture. I think for much of my young motherhood years, I felt like I was swimming upstream against culture, and maybe it's still a little that way. But like I said, I do think there's more options at many levels. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, so if you're feeling a little tapped out and you feel like you actually miss having something to adult with, for me, I have a very strategic, like, business brain. And so as much as it was a dream to be with my littles, it felt like my brain was like, okay, I can only research cloth diapers and the benefits of breast milk so much. Like, I need a place to go and pour out my gifts as well. And so that's, again, that fine line in mothering is taking care of them while not losing yourself. And at some point, we can have a whole conversation around empty nesting, right? Like, as you have grown children, because that's a whole, when you have to find, it has my whole identity been wrapped up in my children all this time, and who am I now that they're like becoming their own people and building their own families and all the things. So a few things: mentorship, surrounding myself with a like-minded community. Willie's support was invaluable, and I just have to give him a huge shout out, because through all the crazy, like, he really has been there to support, which I'm grateful for. Another thing that actually was huge for me, and it was learning how to regulate my emotions. because when I began having children, all of my baggage started getting more coming to the surface. And so it was really not long enough ago. Like, I wish I had known what I know now about emotional healing and being able to process emotions and baggage and unpack it so you don't have to pass it along to your kids. But I did discover it 13 years ago, and it was a huge shift. I was chatting with my youngest, and he's like, Mom, what do you think was just some of the really important things as you were parenting us? Like, how did you grow into who you, I don't even know what his question was. I was like, whoa, that's deep. And I told him, I said, it was baby step by baby step. It wasn't one huge thing that just, oh my goodness, everything shifted, but it was just God's faithfulness again and again and again and again. God is so good when we trust him. And that's one thing that I love, is that I love God, and he has shown up in this process. And so if you're here in this process and you're going it alone, like you have maybe slipped away from your faith, or have had maybe some baggage toward God. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes we just get really ticked off at God and we're like, never mind you. Or we get ticked off at the church and we throw Jesus out with the bathwater. Like, yeah, if that's you, let me just say that's been one of my hugest breakthroughs, was learning how to walk in his strength and not my own. Massive, massive, massive breakthrough. And as many of you know, understanding true Christianity, understanding true grace, which is, I don't know, 16 years ago-ish, shifted everything. And then when I learned how to clear out old baggage and emotions, huge. And that's one reason that I actually have decided to become a practitioner in helping people with their emotional healing. And so if you feel like you're in this motherhood journey, and really not just littles, like the same stuff pops up when they're in grade school, when they're in middle school, when they're in high school, like parenting is it's a journey. It's a lifelong commitment, right? God willing, right? So, but if you find yourself super anxious, super stressed out, maybe with no drive, like maybe you're just so unmotivated and you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I just so unmotivated? Maybe anger pops up super easily. Like you yell at your kids and you don't want to, but you do. Or you spank them or whatever. And these things are coming not necessarily from a parenting decision, but from an emotional response. All of those things are very often tied to emotional experiences you had earlier in life, or like obviously how we were trained as little kids. Children are very, very, very malleable and pick up belief systems and whatnot. So anyway, it's a deep work, but I think it's really amazing. So what I want to do, and I don't have a link set up at the moment, I don't think, for this. So here's what I want to do though, is I want to offer you a one-time session where we can just jump in and we can clear out some of those things that are most on the surface and most impacting you. Now, normally it's pretty expensive to get my one-on-one time, not bragging about that. It's just the way it is. And I want to do a $25 well, yeah, sure. $25. That's fine. $25 for a 25-minute session. And this is a one-time per person thing. And if you know someone who would be blessed by it, you can have them message me. I'm going to put a deadline on this because I can't leave it open just because of my calendar indefinitely. And also I'm coming up on a huge trip to Europe. Oh my goodness. Did I tell you how excited I am? Back to Norway, my homeland, right? So I'm mostly Norwegian. So I'm so excited to go back to Norway. And then a friend and I decided if we are all the way over here, we got to go see Europe. Neither of us really haven't. So we are actually going to do Portugal, a short little stint in Spain, and then we're going to fly over to Italy. So it's going to be nuts. And I cannot wait. But anyway, so because of that, I fly out. Right. So this needs to be redeemed by May 25th. Okay. $25. This is just coming to me now. $25 for 25 minutes by 5/25/25. Is that for real? Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, that was so cool. I didn't even see that one coming. I love numbers, and I'm like, that was really cool. So, yeah, so we'll just wrap it up by the 25th of May. So, and literally, I'll probably just have you Cash App me or Venmo me or something, or if I get really have one of my admins set up a little payment page or something, that would be so fancy. But really, I don't need to be fancy. Really, all I want is I want to gift you with this piece of the puzzle because it's amazing. It's phenomenal. I used to ride the emotional roller coaster up and down, round and round, and I like real roller coasters. I don't like sorry, Instagram like stopped working there. Hopefully I'm back. I don't like emotional roller coasters. And so learning how to get off the emotional roller coaster, game changing as a parent, game changing. I tell my kids even now, I'm like, if dad or I get mad at you, which hey, it still happens, right? We're all human. But so many times it wasn't really so much about their stuff. More times than not, it was about our stuff. It was about something that had happened to us earlier in the day. We were still hauling it around. So when this little thing goes wrong, they get the wrath, right? And wrath, I don't think neither Willie nor I are just like terribly wrathful people. But you know what I'm saying? So when you can learn how to keep your emotional baggage at a minimum, it really changes how you parent. And for me, it was things like anxiety and fear. Actually was able to just clear out fear, and fear is not of God. Not, it says fear not many times. Do not be anxious. Like those things are not of God. They are not. They're the enemy coming to do what he does, steal, kill, and destroy. And so $25 for 25 minutes, but you have to redeem by 5/25/25. There you go. And if you want to share this with a friend, yes, if you think this could benefit a young mom somewhere, and it's not related, it's not just women. If you're watching and you're a guy, I got 4 boys. I love you guys too, but I feel a calling to really mentor women of young children or children in general, just moms, right? Mentor moms, that's right. So that, secondly, if you happen to be an at-home mom, and that's been the choice that you have made, and you are feeling some of the feelings I felt as an intentional at-home mom, that was a choice I made to give up my career for a period. I didn't know I was giving it up for so long, to be home with my babies. It was a choice I made, but with that choice came more financial stress, a little bit of a lack of an intellectual outlet, and guilt, especially around money, because again, I felt bad spending money that I was not contributing to. If that's you, I just want to invite you to look at Norwex. Now, there's a lot of direct selling companies out there. Find a product that you're on fire for, that you believe everybody needs in the whole world. Like, you want something that you really believe in. For me, that's Norwex, because it saves people time, it saves people money, it helps protect their health, which were 3 huge things for me when I started 16 years ago, because that all was aligned with my journey to be a natural mama, and it still is. So if you're looking for a mentor and a business opportunity, that is one way that you get to work with me personally, is by doing that, and I become your business mentor. And what has happened in that situation is I've mentored people at a lot of other levels, which is pretty cool. All right, so $25 for 25 minutes. That's unbelievable. I wasn't actually going to do that, but I think it's meant to be. So $25, 25 minutes. You must be redeemed by 5/25/25, and it will be an emotional clearing session. And it's really amazing, just even when we start the process. Obviously, we're kind of like onions, like it comes off in layers, and we have a whole lifetime here on planet Earth with some hurts and some betrayals and some abandonments and some fears and anxieties and all the things. And so it can be a bit more of a process. But what I know is just even one session could literally be game changing for you. So if you would like to redeem that, please private message me and just let me know that you saw this, whether someone sent it to you or let you know about this offer. And I will need to probably get you on my calendar manually because my calendars, it might take a few little adjustments, but I'll get you there. And I just think it's going to bless you so incredibly much. I know that it certainly has for me. And again, if you're looking for a financial, way to build and a strong mentor, someone who can mentor you not only in how to build your business, but also how to make the business fit into your life, because that's really critical to me. I have this thing where I love to help my team build the business of their dreams that the goal is, fits into, and hopefully funds, F-U-N-D-S, funds the life of their dreams, because that's really what it's about. It's about way more than just making some money, right? It's about creating a life where when you want to buy organic foods, it's in the bank account. You've got it. When you want to take a trip and make memories with your kids, you've got it. Just different things like that. And definitely Norwex for me and has brought in amazing levels of freedom. And so it's my passion to help other people with that. So that would be one way to work with me. Or I also do mentor people who aren't on my Norwex team. And so I have coaching for that as well. But that's not really for tonight. My main thing is I want to offer you that and help you grow in your confidence as a mom and create a safe place where you can have honest conversations. And if it's meaningful to you, a way to make money that's aligned with who you are and with your core values, and just giving you a place to know that you're not alone. And there are some other crazy people out there like me, making decisions that might go a little counterculture, a little counter agenda, whatever you want to say. Kudos to you if you are doing the work to swim upstream a little bit. I believe your babies, your kiddos, your teenagers, your high schoolers, your college kids, and one day your adult children will thank you for that. All right. Have a blessed rest of your week. Again, feel free to share this with parents of littles or just young kids. Like, it doesn't have to be babies for sure. And if you know someone who would benefit, or you would like to do the $25 deal, I promise you, you won't regret it. It's amazing. All right. We'll see you guys soon.